because this might be the inner chronicle of what we are. And we have to articulate ourselves, otherwise we would be cows in a field.
Welcome to Cows in the Field, a movie podcast. I'm your host, Laura.
And I'm Justin, and today we're talking about the 1997 Robert Zemeckis masterpiece, Contact.
Masterpiece is a strong word.
Yeah, strong. Well, I'm bringing my A game here. I'm bringing my fighting.
Wait,
fighting
do I hear
words.
another voice on the podcast?
Who is that?
Hi, I'm Molly.
We didn't warn her that we were going to do that. This is our guest, Molly. Welcome, Molly.
From down the street in quarantine.
Thank you so much for having me here. Truly, many dreams coming true.
Molly, thank you for suggesting this movie, which I've seen as a kid, but then I hadn't. This was like the first time coming back to it in a long time, and it was like very high on your recommendation list, right?
I had never seen it actually, which is kind of surprising for me as a kid who was very into Star Trek and other space stuff that I never saw it before. And it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think I was kind of blown away actually, because Laura and I have a big disagreement about Robert Zemeckis, and not that I'm like hot on every Zemeckis movie, but I'm hot on some Robert Zemeckis movies, and I think
Forrest Gump.
Yeah. But I loved this movie, Contact. I was so into this movie.
You were, yeah. It was.
We ended the movie, and Molly, and I turned to Laura and I was like, "Whoa, that was like a masterpiece." And Laura was like, "I don't know, I don't know about that."
There were definitely parts of it that made my the hairs on my neck stand up and get all tingly, and where I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And then there were other parts where I definitely didn't feel that way.
Okay, good. Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
So maybe what we could do is we just introduce a couple of the main characters and say a little bit about what happens in this movie. Okay, does that sound good?
Yeah.
So who's the main character, Laura?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot. Okay.
I thought you had it ready.
Well, no, I'm ready.
Okay, you're
I'm
ready.
ready,
Okay, yeah.
Justin. Her name is Eleanor Arroway, played by Jodie Foster. That's our heroine. She is a lady scientist who's looking to make contact with some other aliens,
Other humans.
other
yeah.
humans. Well,
it just got lost.
nah. Yeah. All right, start it over. I'm starting it over.
No, leave it in.
Leave it in.
All right, Palmer Joss. Palmer Joss, actually played by Matthew McConaughey. I think Palmer Joss is one of the best named characters in like the history of cinema. In fact, actually, when he announced his name, I thought he was saying his name was Palmer Johnson, and I was like, this guy rules. He's got the coolest name ever.
Cool. Michael Kitts.
Yeah, I don't know. James Woods.
Played by James Woods.
James Woods.
Yeah.
And he's the antagonist of this movie. I think he's the most clear baddie all the way through. We have the rich tech billionaire genius madman S.R. Haddon. His thing is that he doesn't like to live on the ground anymore.
Can I make a confession? So I couldn't tell that was John Hurt, and
he had a lot of makeup on.
He did, and at one point I actually thought, is this Jodie Foster wearing makeup in like a weird time travel thing? Like she's come back to she went into the time capsule with the aliens and she came back in time and like became a millionaire.
That's so creative.
That'd be a real Tilda Swinton move.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, but no, it was John Hurt. Okay.
And then Dr. David Drumlin is the scientist bureaucrat. He's at one point the boss of Jodie Foster, and he's been sort of rising the ranks. And he is another antagonist of Jodie Foster. He's always getting in the way and trying to steal her ideas or shut her down.
Yeah.
Dr. Drumlin.
Yeah, he sucks. We'll come back to him in a second. So the next person is named Kent Clark, which is real, I think. His name is really Kent Clark.
Okay.
Played by William Fichtner, and he's like the blind friend and also like co-worker of Ellie.
He's great.
We're gonna get to Fichtner versus McConaughey. That's coming up. So
I think that there's gonna be a clear divide there.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also just say one more thing? So
Yes,
about
please.
two of the people we've just named, John Hurt and Tom Skerritt, both in Alien, another movie about making contact with first contact with aliens.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I was like looking. I was like, I thought Tom Skerritt was an Alien. I went just double check that. And then the last guy, Molly, you wanted to talk about this guy.
I don't really want to talk about him because I didn't like him and he made me feel uncomfortable. But he is this creepy religious guy who plays an important part in the last, the last act of the movie. But again, we can get to some of our lingering questions.
That sounds good.
About does he need to exist, etc.
I have a conspiracy theory about him. Anyway, that guy's played by Jake Busey, right? Son of Gary Busey. And he totally looks like Gary Busey. Mm-hmm. He looks like a younger, less coked out Gary Busey. Laura was like, where have I seen that guy? And I was like, Starship Troopers.
Yes.
That's the only other movie I've seen him in. Starship Troopers.
But I think I was also like, where have I seen that guy? Because I was thinking of Gary Busey.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's definitely the experience that I had.
I see.
100%.
I was like, when was this movie made?
Yeah, apparently, actually, he's quite an illustrious career. Actually,
okay.
Yeah,
can you call out a few more? Now
he's in this movie called The Predator. He's in Twister.
The Predator's in the 2018 Predator.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, he's in Twister?
He's in Twister.
Wow.
Another 90s classic.
Enemy of the State, The Frighteners, Christmas with the Cranks.
Christmas with the Cranks?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
And then he's in Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3. So
well, illustrious indeed.
Who could forget that movie? So anyway, yeah. Okay, so that's
but those are more movies than I thought. So good on Gary Busey.
Yeah, I mean, he's been apparently. I mean, according to Letterboxd, 62 films. So
all right,
good on him.
Good for him.
So so what happens in this movie? Like in 30 seconds, like what goes down?
I'm gonna let you take that, Jess.
Me? I thought Molly was gonna take this.
Okay, I can take it. Yeah. I can take it. So Ellie, what's her last? Ellie Arroway. She, after some various bureaucratic setbacks, gets her research. She's in Arizona, New Mexico somewhere. Don't remember.
I think New Mexico.
And then she makes contact. She gets this message. She is able to identify that it is a message from another life form. And then it kind of unfolds from there with the government interventions and all the decisions about what to do about it. And I don't know. That's like the very short version.
That's really good. Honestly, when we try to do this, I'm always just like, well, what do I leave in? What do I leave out? But that was perfect.
Brevity is not my strong suit
That was
either.
Perfect.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you,
was
Molly.
great. So Molly,
Molly will now be taking over our podcast.
Yeah. So let's go through pros. So you liked this movie.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
I think when I was kind of writing up my notes about it, I love a movie that's about aliens. Obviously, number one, space, very into it. Lady scientist, check. Lady scientist trying to talk to aliens, like all the checks. I love it. So into it. But where I kind of had a hard time is that there's so much exposition at the beginning. You know, they're at the place. They start out in one kind of location, and then she gets her funding pulled, and so then she has to. I mean, like I understand why it's so that she has to develop the relationship with the Haddon,
right? The rich
SR
guy.
Haddon, the rich tech bro guy. But it just means that it takes a really long time to get to the point in the movie where they're actually receiving this message.
Right.
And that was the point at which there's this amazing scene where she's in the desert. She has all the kind of satellite radio things set up. And when she understands what's happening, that's when it kind of clicked for me. And I was like, oh, this is really exciting. Stuff is happening.
Totally. Yeah. You know, I think when I was younger, I think one of the reasons I didn't like the movie was partly because of that, right? Because it takes so long. And then the part where she goes and actually like hangs out with the aliens is actually super anticlimactic in a way. And
yes.
but this time around, I was really into all the bureaucratic wrangling.
People are like, what's in it for me? Like, what's the upshot of your research? How can I maybe make a profit off of it? How can I maybe gain from supporting you? This blue sky research is something that's really hard. It seems like it's really hard to get funding for and get traction in the world.
Yeah.
And did we mention this already, that this is based on the book that Carl Sagan wrote.
We have not mentioned this. Yeah. I think that was something you wanted to talk about, Laura, right?
Oh, I watched a little explainer video that just gave a little bit of background that Carl Sagan wrote this partly with his partner at the time and then wife, who's an author. And originally they wrote it as a screenplay, and then they weren't able to sort of get any traction in Hollywood, and then turned it into a book. And then once that book became incredibly popular, they went back to the movie idea, and Zemeckis was handpicked to do that project. I think Sagan was pretty involved with it, but he did pass away before the movie came out, unfortunately.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, but he did envision it as a screenplay, but I imagine it must have gotten a lot longer and more detailed when it became a book, and then they probably had to condense that back, which was why perhaps we have so much time spent in Puerto Rico and New Mexico, leading up to the actual contact. It's so fun when the contact first happens, and then like the feds basically get called in because they think it's a national security issue, and you first see James Woods. She's on her, like she's at her most powerful in that moment, and she keeps cutting off James Wood when he's trying to talk to her,
Right.
and she's like talking to her other colleagues, and she's like, turn that up, do this. She's bossing people around. She looks so in command of the room, and she keeps like shutting down men, and it's awesome. And then she just loses that footing so fast. The rest of the movie is her getting things taken away from her getting stomped on. She goes up, she thinks she's about to lead the press conference, and the boss, Dr. Drumlin, walks up instead of her, and the rest of the movie is going to be a lot of that.
He gets selected to go initially.
That moment with the press briefing, especially I think because we're at a moment now when I pay more attention to press briefings than perhaps in the past, that in particular was so gutting. Like, she has her notes, she's done her makeup, she's looking very professional and not necessarily in her field gear. And then she just quietly sees herself out. And that was, I feel like that's kind of the image over and over again, is her having done all the research, being prepared to do something, and then someone else just kind of cutting ahead of her.
Yeah. And there's a scene Justin mentioned that Dr. Drumlin gets selected to go and make contact, to get in this vehicle that they've created to go meet the aliens. And Drumlin gets selected for various reasons that we can circle back to related to McConaughey. But he basically is like, hey, I know you probably think this is really unfair, and it is. Bye.
Brutal. It's so
awful.
Brutal.
It's like not
because he
an
understands,
apology,
right? Like, he understands his position and all of it,
and he's just like, I don't care though.
He's able to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like there are two ways to read this. So one is that he's just like a dick who wants to get he wants all the accolades, and he didn't want to have to put in any of the work, basically, and the risk that went along with it. Another is that he's like jaded. He's cynical in a way that like she is potentially tempted by that cynicism at some points, right? She's not tempted in the sense, well, she's given opportunities to be cynical like that, and she doesn't take them, and she holds true to herself. But where does it end up getting her? It ends up getting her like she's giving tours to kids this guy who his cynicism like took him to the top, right? He's like the director of, he like doles out the money, right? And he decides, he's the kingmaker. He decides who gets which projects get to go and everything. And that's what I find so interesting about the movie, is that like Sagan, it's clearly a really bitter movie. Sagan is like, he's like, clearly Ellie is the better one, and yet she's giving tours to little kids working at this, like she's not actually doing anything of significance at the end of the movie.
But at the same time, though, at the end, I agree, it's kind of disappointing at the very end when she's giving the science tours to kids, but at the same time she's still excited by it, right? The cynicism hasn't like seeped in to the point where she's just like, oh, like, screw this is dumb. She still finds that there's something really like magical and important about it.
That's what I mean, is that she's kept the spark alive, but the only way to keep the spark alive is to not actually be doing the research and doing the right, because it was like they were incompatible, right? You either had to like be a cynic like Drumlin and like be just brutal about like choosing which projects get funded and like not have any real sense of adventure, or you have to be like Ellie, who has the sense of adventure, and then you're just not going to get to be a scientist, right? And I just think it's such a bitter, brutal movie in the end.
Yeah. Right. Because Drumlin tells her, he's like, if you continue pursuing this, you're just going to have your career's over. Your career's over. You'll never be published, and you won't get to be a scientist in our field.
Yeah.
And I think she just accepts that. You know, she listens now on her own in her downtime, right? We see her kind of in that canyon listening in her headphones.
But she knows aliens exist. She's the only person who does.
But she continues that exploration, but not under the auspices of any official, science organization. She's never going to have funding for it. She's just going to keep basically doing what she was doing as a kid in her bedroom.
Yeah.
And sending out a signal.
What's so frustrating about that is we get the little tidbit at the end that the governmental powers that be or whatever, that they ultimately do believe her.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. They're going to take full credit.
They're
going to take credit for everything that she's given her in her entire life for, right? That's the other theme of this movie is like, it's both a gendered thing, but it's just, I think, a general thing about like being a dreamer. But, on the gendered reading, it's like, if you're a woman in academia or you're a woman in society, your ideas are just going to get taken by some more powerful man.
Right. They'll be silenced until it's useful for somebody. Yeah. And then once it's useful for somebody, they'll be taken away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that reading of Drumlin as jaded and not evil. I think the James Wood character is straight up bad, but evil, I mean. Drumlin, there are moments where you see that he stands up for Ellie, or he like gives her credit, not in a public way, but privately. James Woods, one of the first things he says to her is he's like, well, you should have told the government immediately, like you were calling all of these other countries, and like this is, and he's chastising for that. And Drumlin jumps in and he's like, no, like we can only listen to Vega for so long, then the Earth moves, and so that's why we have to call in Australia. She did the right thing scientifically. She needed to like keep on top of this, and he defends her. And then when you find out, so the aliens have sent all this data and they don't know what it is, and Ellie posits that it might be some sort of transport. And when they find out the news, are at some party, some White House party. When they find out the news, Drumlin calls her and he's like, "You were right all along." He just gives her a quick quiet. I mean, he doesn't give her credit anywhere else. And certainly when there's a press briefing, he's going to be the one to stand up and talk about it. Yeah. But he does acknowledge it, at least to her, that she was right.
I feel like he's the Salieri to Mozart in this. Like he feels guilty, I feel, about what he's doing, but he's doing it nonetheless, because I think he secretly hopes that in the history books it'll be his name that's written down and not hers.
Totally. I totally agree with that, especially because we were just talking about how I think it's towards the beginning when they're in Puerto Rico, when he says, if you keep on studying this, you're not going to have a career because it's just so, bonkers or whatever. And because it's because he realizes that he doesn't have the innate talent or drive or whatever that she has for the science of it. And that it's the bureaucracy of it all where he does have that, where he has that kind of ambition, I think. And so it's kind of that part of it too, where he's not good. He's not good enough. He's not good enough at science in the way that she is.
Yep. Yeah. And I think I just feel like Sagan is just like, he's shaking his fist at this entire system. He's like, the moneyed people will take credit for the hard work done by the people with ambition and technicality and skill and expertise and everything and passion. And it's, it's a trope you see everywhere, right? It's not just in science, but it's all over. It's in the publishing industry, and it's in movies and literature and everything, so that these people with money are able to appropriate the ideas and work of others who they've effectively squashed. I think I just but it feels very, in that sense it's universal, but also I feel it's very personal to Sagan, because it just does feel like Sagan went through something like this. You just get that feeling like he's like, hey, I can't help but think, because I think of Sagan and Mr. Rogers in the same kind of group, because of course they were both people who wanted to talk to younger people, children or young adults, and popularize sort of, get them thinking about whatever. In Mr. Rogers' case, like empathy and stories and that kind of thing, and with Sagan's case, like science. But I think of it like there's this clip of Mr. Rogers where he's going to ask the federal government to renew PBS's funding. Like, have you seen this clip?
Mm-hmm.
And he just makes this impassioned plea to the government. And at first, the like Republican senator is like, no. We can't afford this. Come on. Like, this is just kids stuff. Give me a break. And then he like gives him this 5-minute speech. And the guy's like in tears at the end of it. He's just so moved. But I get the feeling like this is the thing Sagan hates, that like we have to go and like fight, tooth and nail to get this funding from people who then just take full credit for everything that we do. I don't know.
Right. And that's kind of what happens, right? In order for her to get the funding to go to New Mexico, that she's kind of going around trying to ask for funding from different people. And she gives that impassioned speech. And they are about to reject her, but S.R. Haddon is watching from his hidey hole.
Who is S.R. Haddon? Okay, so this is a really important question. Like, okay, I had a lot of questions about Haddon, and like one of them is just like, what is his deal? Like, why
doesn't he like living on the ground anymore?
Okay, that's a good question.
I'm obsessed with that. I love it. He's just burning fossil fuel like constantly. He's just always in his private jet. What's going on?
Or he's in space? Yeah, okay, but
then he ends up in a space station.
But also, like, why does he care about Ellie? Why does he want to fund her in particular? Continually, over and over again, he helps her get ahead. And that without him, she would, not because she's not capable, but just because she's been, had so many impediments put in her place, she wouldn't be in the position that she's in.
He gets people to break into her apartment and set up a laptop with a tiny satellite.
It's incredible.
It's so weird.
So weird.
My favorite part maybe of the whole movie is when he shows her a PowerPoint of her own life.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
He's just like, hi, welcome to my private jet. I don't like to live on the ground. You were born on 1962. It's insane. It's incredible.
I don't understand.
I loved everything about it. I was like, that was the point where I was like, this movie is my shit. Then I lost it.
And she just accepts it, right? She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, she's seeing the dollar signs and he gives her, what's it called? Like the key, but they don't call it the key.
Whatever.
The primer.
The primer. Yeah. He gives her the primer. He solves her problem for her. Also, he's smart too. Like
he's smart.
He's doing his own science thing. But he's giving Ellie all the credit. The opposite of what we had just said.
Yeah.
The moneyed people aren't taking the credit in this case. He gave Ellie a huge gift.
Yeah. See, this is interesting because of course he's an anti-bureaucrat, right? He's a capitalist, right? He's a capitalist, right? But like I don't know.
And I also it's very hard for me because I felt like throughout the whole movie it was unclear to me if he was actually a good guy or not.
Yeah,
and I think
totally.
that ambiguity is purposeful.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a tension too, maybe that you have to deal with in academia, where
the benevolent
Jeffrey
funder.
Epstein. Well,
Epstein.
I'm thinking about Epstein, right? Like his money is all over Harvard and MIT and lots of institutions that the MIT Media Lab doesn't probably have a lot of people falling over itself to give.
No, the Media Lab is very...
All right, they do okay. You know what I mean, though. What I mean is just that academia, the sources for money are drying up more and
philosophy,
more.
Big time. We need money.
Okay, that's Justin's point, is that...
We don't got no money.
You know what it makes me think more of is that there's this recent Stanford study about coronavirus, right? That was is not peer-reviewed, and it was something about how it's not as contagious or whatever, and then it turns out that it was funded by one of the owners of JetBlue or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's on that. Yeah,
to reopen. So but it does make me think of that, right? Like what are you getting out of it? Even if it's not like the capitalist angle or whatever.
Yeah,
there's a reason, right? Like he wants her to talk to aliens so that he can live forever.
Maybe he's trying to like halt his cancer. Yeah, maybe he's hoping that these higher beings. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's actually a really interesting point. Yeah, because maybe he thinks like by sending Ellie, she'll be so indebted to him that like if he's like, look, get me the cure, and then I'll keep funding you to go back to the aliens and talk to them about your dad and all that stuff. But I need you bring back the cure, right?
Little did he know that she's going to go, and the aliens are going to be like, "Hi, that's it for now."
Yeah. Yeah.
This is step 1 of 427. There's some other civilizations ahead of you. See you in another 100 million years when you guys get it together. All right.
Here's a ticket here.
Yeah.
You can take on those little tickets.
They're like, your brain can't handle it. Yeah. But it's okay because we made it look like Pensacola. It's very lovely here. See you later.
I kind of dig though that it wasn't like the aliens like themselves created everything. It's like they found it too. It's like it's just this thing that's been infinitely passed down.
Yeah,
this
I love
like
that.
hub where they all go and like meet up and stuff. It's like sort of like a JavaScript chat room. Sorry.
Alien meetup.
Justin was like
Alien Slack.
Justin was like building up to that joke.
Let me just hold on. Let me update the joke for 2020.
Okay.
It's Alien Slack. That's what it is. It's where we all go and chill out, or Alien Zoom. All right. So that the alien. Okay. So Haddon, we don't know what his end game is.
We don't know what his end game is, but he's the best character. He likes to live in the air.
Is he the best character? I'm going McConaughey.
The best character.
Just kidding.
Yeah, we have
your
to
mouth.
this guy.
All right, hold on. Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
We're gonna blow out the mics. We're so mad at you.
Foster is the best character.
She's amazing. Can we also just before we dump on McConaughey? Actually, I don't have a problem with McConaughey. I have a problem with Palmer. But Jodie Foster's incredible in this movie. She's so well cast.
She's so good. And also, this is one thing that I will say about Palmer Joss is that he is much younger than her.
Is that true?
He seems it.
He seems younger. He seems like much younger than her.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Which is a rare thing.
Well, I have to say,
Hollywood movie.
I did like. I mean, both of us we were talking about this when it happened, but like they hook up right that night. They go on the date and they hook up, and then she gets up at like 2 a.m. and she's like, "Just see yourself out. I got to go to work," and she just pieces out. And
he's like, "How can I talk to you?" And she's like, "Oh, just leave me your number."
Yeah.
Bye. She's like, I'm gonna put on this neon green shirt. I'm not gonna wear a bra, and I'm gonna go listen. I'm gonna go listen to some aliens. This is now the second time I've mentioned a lack of bra on this podcast. It seems to be it seems to be something that I like to comment on.
Yeah. The other one was Lily Sobieski.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But also that
no bra
outfit is the first scrunchie sighting.
Yes, and I actually noticed it right away. I was like, she's putting on her clothes. She's got a scrunchie. She's going to work.
Big old scrunchie. Yeah. We'll put a pin in the scrunchie thing, but that's the first setting of the scrunchie. But yeah, she's a badass lady. He's trying to like flirt with her. He gives her the compass and she's like, no, you're going to need that. I don't need a compass. I know where I'm going.
That's true.
Awesome.
She's true. She doesn't. That's a really good insight. As always, Laura with the best insight. No compass needed. Okay, but so I thought that her and McConaughey make a good couple, and I think I'm in the minority here. But the opposite. So there are really only two options. There's 3 options. Okay, there's
yes. There's not just two.
There's
options.
not just two. There's McConaughey and her. There's Fichtner and her, and there's her by herself, just being
a badass lady scientist.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, there does not need to be a love interest in this movie.
No, of course, but I think that they have a good relationship. Of course, he makes a huge mistake. Okay, he squanders her first initial opportunity to go to. I'm just gonna say go to Mars, but whatever. Go to
Vega.
Vega. But Vega is just like where the first wormhole goes, and then she goes to another. Right, she goes through like a wormhole to Vega, and then a wormhole somewhere else. Because it's just like this. They're routing this thing through these different.
They sent the message
systems.
through the superhighway too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because Vega's uninhabited. It's just like the nearest.
Right, and they keep being like it doesn't make any sense because it's too close, so therefore it's too young. Right, Vega's too young. That's why they couldn't understand why there would be intelligent life.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay, so he prevents her because he asked her the God question. He knows that
in this big Senate hearing,
in the big hearing, it's super public. Not a good move by him. Basically, kills her chances. But she doesn't. First of all, she stays true to herself. So first chance to be a cynic and just be like, oh yeah, of course, Jesu Christo, right? She could do that instead,
which Drumlin does.
Yeah, which Drumlin does. He comes like nailed on a cross. They wheel him in on a cross. He's got the like stigmata and the crown of thorns.
One of the things that killed me though about this hearing, so Palmer Joss, so they have some. I'm just moving on. It's fine.
Please
they have some.
Let him get it together.
One night stand in Puerto Rico, and then much later they reconnect when they're all in DC, and then he ends up on the committee that's selecting the person to go to Vega. right?
Yeah.
And there's still some sexual tension or whatever kind of. And then he asked her this question about her faith in the hearing. And he said something like 95% of the people on Earth, at some point, someone says 95% of the people on Earth believe in God. And that was a real tricky moment for me because that seemed awfully high.
Yeah. You know, I actually,
Does that seem right to you?
I think he might be right, especially in 1997. I think it's definitely gone down since then. But it is interesting. Yes, God in some form or another is the important thing because because I think it is like actually atheists are quite few and far between. I do think you should fact check us on that, Molly. Well, I'm saying basically that what happens. So he basically does this on the pretense that he says he can't put someone out there who doesn't believe in God. But really, it's because, as he reveals later, he doesn't want her to go because he knows that if she goes, or he thinks that if she goes, you know, that's it. Like, they'll never get to see each other again.
I don't think that's actually how, in terms of what he actually expresses to her, I think it's flipped. So he goes and talks to her before the hearing, right? They walk along the Washington Monument, the reflection pool, and he's like, "Why do you want to go?" But he's like, "Can we talk about Einstein?" He's like, "By the way, like if you're gonna go this close to speed of light, you're going to come back if you can." And she keeps saying, "If I come back." Like she's
ready to go.
She's ready to just die there or never come back. Like she's like, "I'm out." And he's like, "When you come back, it'll be 50 years from now. And everybody you know and love will be dead." And she keeps saying like, "Yeah. And also I might never come back." He's like, "But why?" And she's just like, "This is like my insides need, like everything about me needs to know the answer to this. Like this is who I am and this is my drive." And he's like, "Cool. I'm gonna blow it up." And then and he asked the question. Now then he goes to her in the hotel room afterwards and she's pissed.
Yeah.
And he says, "I couldn't, my job on this committee was to have," he says to her, not to the committee, but not in that hearing, but when they're one-on-one, he says, "My job is to select somebody who represents mankind. And I couldn't on my conscience select somebody that believes that 95% of us are just suffering under mass delusion." He justifies it to her, not in emotional terms.
No, I know.
But okay.
But
so
later,
later
on the ship,
Okay.
on the ship, he explains what his real justification. No. On the ship, he explains. He's like, "Look, this is what I really." When he's like, "You're gonna go,"
when he tries to passengers her, he's like, "I did it for love."
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
Well, no, but I think that is what he really felt, and that's him just like letting go and being like, and I think admitting that he shouldn't have done that, and that it was wrong of him to put his own feelings above hers in that regard, and so
it was wrong,
and I think he admits that, and okay, but I also think like, okay, we need to not just
Molly and I don't think that men can make mistakes.
I make one more case for McConaughey, one more case. All right.
Hashtag not all men, but in this case, almost all men.
But I will say one other thing. So the other thing is that she clearly has a thing for him. Yes, she probably really would prefer just to go meet the aliens. Totally. But like, I think she does like him, and there's some sparks, and they get along, and they have fun intellectual conversations. And they, and he's a kind of an intellectual equal to her, and they kind of have this sort of frisky, relationship where they're
I like when you say frisky.
Sorry, whatever. I don't know. They're kind of like play fighting with each other, and he pushes her. He pushes her to challenge like her beliefs and everything. And of course, what's great is that neither of them concedes to each other. Neither of them is like, "Oh yeah, okay, you convince me." They're both like, they can live in a kind of,
that's true.
Together with each other, with their each belief. There's both respect each other. Yeah, they respect each other's positions, and they're engaging. And I think that's what partly is what attracts her to him. Also the locks, but
his hair is incredible in this movie.
But she Anyway, I saw, and she clearly indicates that she does have some attraction to him, and I feel like that's important, like she likes him, but she has other things she cares about too. And she's trying to herself work these things out in her mind. I don't think it's like cut and dry.
Yeah, I know. I kept saying to Justin, I was like, "Ugh, they only had sex one time. Like, get over it. They're not in love." But, but you're right. I mean, I think that scene where she's explaining to him when he asks her, He asked her some questions, Molly. And Molly is always looking
he does ask her.
He asked her some questions, but he asked her about Molly's always making sure people ask questions because that's a very important thing to do in relationships is to ask questions.
Yes.
But he asked her when she knew she wanted to become an astronomer, and she just lights up. Yeah. So I think he has his own passions, and they're both looking for meaning and looking for answers. So they're kindred spirits.
I also feel like in 1990s movies, how many like good heterosexual relationships are there portrayed, right? I bet it's not that many. I bet there's more of these
where they're sort of intellectual equals.
Yeah, where they're equals and he's not just negging her and stuff. Like, yeah, he does this bad thing, but he admits it as such. And there's a kind of understanding that they reach at the end. And I don't know. So that was my pitch for McConaughey.
I think, it's interesting because there's definitely mutual interest and respect. And I think that they both operate on faith, although her faith is in science and his is in religion, but it operates in a really similar way. One thing that I didn't like about him was the really cheesy line about how he couldn't be like a priest because he liked sex too much. I was like, okay, calm down.
That was gross.
Yeah,
I also don't like.
He was like, I'm a man of the cloth without the cloth.
Ooh. No, I know. Molly and I just like both clenched.
Ugh.
That's awful. Also, like he's always carrying around a book that's like got gilded pages.
Yeah, he's a holy man.
Writing in this diary.
But it's not a Bible. Is it like a hymnal? Because you don't carry those around.
It's just his diary.
It's his diary. It's his reflections. He's a philosopher.
I see. I mean, he is sort of like a pop intellectual at that point, right? He's become like the spiritual advisor to Clinton.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point.
Which I guess too, because I was very surprised at how stacked the cast is. Because Rob Lowe comes in at some point when starting to see Angela Bassett is there, and then Clinton comes in, and I was like,
how'd they get Billy?
And it turns out that it was this weird thing. I don't know, Justin, Laura, did you guys read about this?
No, we didn't. Yeah, tell us.
So apparently at some point when Clinton was president, they found a meteorite in Antarctica. And so there was a press conference where he talked about it, and they used video and audio from that and composited it. And
amazing.
He was pissed when the movie came out.
Oh my
God.
Did they not? I guess it's public domain, right? Because he's a public figure. And so they could just do whatever they want with it.
There was some controversy about that.
That's awesome. That's a total Zemeckis thing, though, right? That's what he was doing in Forrest Gump, and it was much better with this. But here, because I think they weren't trying to like do the little thing where you just move his mouth.
Right. You're not trying to have what is like.
It's not a deep fake.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's like early deep fakes in Forrest Gump were kind of funky.
They're a little funky. Yeah. I mean, they were kind of leaning hard on the fact.
He has to go pee.
Oh my God. That movie.
I love that movie. We're gonna definitely do that movie.
All right.
I don't want to give away my take on it though right now.
Do you want to take a quick moment while we're talking about Zemeckis moves to explain the most magical shot of the movie?
Yes. So speaking of movie magic, so I watched a video explaining how they did the shot where Jenna Malone runs up the stairs and then down the hallway towards the medicine cabinet, and then you realize that the shot was inside of a mirror the whole time, and then she opens the medicine cabinet and gets the medicine. So first of all, like, let's just reflect on how amazing that shot is. It's an impossible shot. It's impossible. The camera can't do that. The camera can't be inside of a mirror, like as she's, and bend around a hallway, right? Impossible. So what they did was they, in the mirror was not a mirror. It's actually a green screen. And what they did was they composited the shot of her coming down the hallway onto that green screen bit. And then they just have another shot of her like reaching, opening it up. Yeah. So it's like two shots composited in a kind of like mind-bending thing.
That's very cool.
It's really cool.
That's amazing and simple.
It's really simple, right? It's nothing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Anyway, I was kind of blown away when I saw that, and that's one of my favorite shots in any movie, and it's just when you see it happen. It's also what I like about it is that he uses it for something that's incredibly consequential for her. Like her father's death is basically the thing that makes her who she is, right? The reason she wants to find aliens, It's because she thinks she's alone in the world, and she doesn't want to be alone in the universe. And so it's like the last hope she has of sort of, having some sort of relationship with a kind of father figure. And, and so like that is the moment that her father dies. And so to have it be that shot, I think is just, it's fantastic. It's a good, important shot. It's not just like, let me throw in an effect shot for the hell of it.
Yeah. Although he does do a couple of trick shot through windows.
The trick, that's true. He does do some, which I don't know. I think they must do that composite. I don't actually know how they do that one. Anyway.
But I think especially with that shot too, she's reaching out, right?
Yeah.
It's so evocative in that way, because that's what she spends her whole life doing.
She's reach for the stars.
Yeah.
Shoot for the, reach for the sky. That's what Woody always said. Or does he say reach for the stars? Reach for the stars.
What are you talking
I'm talking about Woody from Toy Story. Reach for the stars.
I don't think you're talking about Woody. I think you're talking about Buzz Lightyear.
No,
Buzz Lightyear.
No, Buzz. No. Woody, he's a sheriff.
He says there's a snake in his boot. He doesn't talk about stars.
No.
Why would he talk about stars?
He says he pulls the gun, and then he says reach, but is it reach for the sky or reach for the stars?
I wouldn't.
I think this is incorrect.
Sky.
Okay, reach for the sky makes more sense.
Yes.
I guess because then you could say that during the day. If reach for the stars. They're like, what stars? There are no stars. What do you want me to be reaching for? Reach for the clouds. Well, it's a sunny day, so you're screwed.
I only remember Snake in my boot.
Yeah, that's a classic. Well, Snake in my boot. All right. So where are we? Let's try to bring it back around.
The movie we're talking about is Contact.
My question, why is this movie so long?
Why is it so long?
Oh, I was ready for another hour.
Yeah, Justin's like, please make this a mini series.
I
think that would have worked. I think it's different. It really, like, I started to lose steam, but then where it got me back again is when the first, whatever it is, UFO transportation thing blows up, and then it turns out that they have the secret second one, because why not?
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, that moves fast. That moves fast, at least.
Yeah.
I think what does make it long is there are a lot of they have to really hammer home this tension and also harmony between religion and science in terms of faith. They have, I don't know, 10 different conversations. McConaughey and Jodie Foster come back to it again. That's all they ever talk about whenever they reconnect. And then there's several courtroom scenes. So I think that's probably where that length is coming from. But I think those are really important themes to Carl Sagan and stuff that I think, it slowed down the plot for sure, but they were in his heart.
I will also say that once you get to the okay to go sequence, I was locked in again. I was like, this is amazing. That part is so good when she's walking down like the plank and then she's there and then all the communication stuff is going awry, but she's so brave and steadfast and ready. And that part I really loved.
Her just saying okay to go over and over again. And that it's Fichtner who hears her, and he's the audio guy, right? And he's like, I hear her, and they're like, okay, let's just keep going. I think it's just so great. It's really moving. Was that one of the like moments where you were like,
yes, for
really
sure.
Great.
That was the part in the second half where I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. She's so good in this movie. She's so good.
Yeah, it's really great. Can I just say one thing about, of course, in the end, they gaslight her and they're like, yeah, you just made it all up, whatever. But like, also, right, they have this machine that they were built with, obviously with alien technology. Like, how much could they gaslight her? This is all public information, right? Like, it's clear aliens exist. Like, they sent us this thing. We built this thing, which we couldn't otherwise do. And yeah, maybe it didn't work for her, but like, I feel like it sort of strains credulity that like anyone would be like, well, I'm convinced now that like this is just bullshit.
Right. Well, he tries to blame it all on Skadden, right? He thinks it's a giant hoax from Skadden is what he says.
Hadden hoaxed us the whole way.
Skadden, right? Yes, he uses the Occam's razor thing to say, isn't it more likely that this is just like a giant hoax, that we were all hoodwinked by this billionaire as a giant, F you before he dies, then it is likely that there's intelligent beings and like, millions and millions of light years away. That
What's so dumb about that is that the Occam's razor answer is obviously that there are aliens. It's such an ascientific approach. And I think that that's on my mind too, because the week that I watched this was when, there's the latest report from the government that, there's another UFO that we just saw. Like there've been reports for years at this point,
New York Times just like keeps like writing articles that we are like, okay, but like also Trump is blowing stuff up. So like we're a little concerned about what's happening right here.
Wait, Molly, do you believe in aliens? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course. I think that it's crazy. Think about how big the universe is.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
Does it seem like an awful waste of space otherwise?
Otherwise, it does seem like an awful waste of space, Laura.
That's the other cute thing is McConaughey says that like her dad does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail us. Yeah, no, it seems really likely that there are other beings, other humans, as I said previously.
Other humans. There's other humans out there.
What do you think is more likely, that there are that the aliens from Contact are the ones that are out there, or that the aliens from Prometheus are the ones that are out there, that are actually the ones who created us? They're like those big white bulbous guys. No,
I'm gonna hope that the Contact aliens, the ones that are just sort of like chill,
benign,
and they're like, we found this cool highway, you're not ready for it.
They don't like build like bioterrorist weapons that turn into the whatever the xenomorphs.
Just everybody's exploding and puking in that movie.
I have not seen that movie, and I have to say I'm not super stoked on it.
Oh no,
given this description.
No.
In Prometheus, they're fighting against the odds. That's a callback to a Stephen A. Smith when he did
basketball promo.
Yeah, basketball. They were doing, and so they'd always do this in May, which we're not getting. This is the first time in a long time that we don't get
NBA finals.
The NBA finals would have like a promo tie-in with a movie, and so that year, which I think was 2012, the movie was or 2013. I can't remember. 2012. Yeah, it was Prometheus. That was the NBA tie-in. So like what they do is they intercut like LeBron slamming with and then Prometheus, like they're like shooting aliens and stuff. And then what they did was they had Stephen A. Smith like on like a nondescript like science fiction set, just like standing there in his suit, like it's like ESPN
he's about to go comment
suit.
on something.
Yeah, he's just like, in Prometheus, they're fighting against the odds. And
that was honestly though like one of the smoothest connections, because one time it was like Alice in Wonderland, and there's no way to connect basketball and Alice in Wonderland. So it would just be like LeBron dunking, Steph Curry shooting a three, and then like a scene from Alice in Wonderland. And they were just like, I don't know. Go see Alice in Wonderland.
One that I liked was also that when they did I think it was 22 Jump Street.
Yes.
They did a tie-in with 22 Jump Street, and that was like Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill were interviewing basketball players. And it were super awkward interviews. Like they're just sitting on those like stools, in a studio, and each of them is like holding a basketball, and it's just incredible. They're just like, so tell me when you first liked getting into basketball. It's like stuff like that. It was so awkward.
Yeah.
So that one was a good one. And then what are the other ones?
There was when they did Men in Black International, they had the running joke that all of the like NBA players are aliens.
Right. Yeah. Huh? They had like Russell or Chris Paul had like eyes in the back of his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That one like thematically worked. But you know what we all are reminded of at this time of year is that basketball players are not actors. They're really good at basketball, and they're not good at making jokes.
Yeah, it's true. The
so it's always awkward.
Often bad.
That's all to say. Prometheus, they're fighting against the odds, is our favorite NBA spot.
Yeah.
It's a super...
check it out on YouTube.
Yep. Check it out on YouTube. Prometheus. I like that movie. There's a lot of goo in it. A lot of goo.
That's a movie where... so it's the prequel to Alien.
Which I actually, to be honest, also haven't seen Alien.
Got it.
That has a badass lady in it.
Do you guys believe in aliens? What do you think?
Laura just...
Fermi paradox, etc.
Yeah,
just threw it out there.
When we find out, when we get our message from Vega, I'm going to be driving down to New Mexico. I'm going to be like, the yellow brick road to Vega. I'm going to be waving things around. I'm going to be like, come and take me. No, but I do believe it. Yeah, I think it's most likely that they're out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Justin, you seem unconvinced.
I'm unconvinced. Here's another question though. Would you want there to be aliens?
I think I just answered that question.
Okay, yes. Laura's a hard yes on that one. Molly?
I don't think it has to do with wanting or not. This is where I think part of the reason that I do like this movie is because I really identify with Ellie Arroway, where she's like, well, of course there's life out there.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
But she wants to make contact with them. Like, do you want to make contact with the aliens?
Well, this is, I don't know. It depends. I think that they probably don't want us, I think that they're probably not interested in
they
us.
might feel the same way we feel, some of us at least feel towards them. Like they're kind of curious to find out what else is out there, and it'd, be kind of fun to, or do you think they would want to kill us?
I don't think that they would want to kill us. I feel like there's an element of, like FOMO in the universe where I would be afraid that all the other aliens are hanging out without us, and they're like, oh, we don't need them.
They're like, look at those dumb ones.
They're messing stuff up.
You can say whatever words you want to say on this podcast.
Wait, so is the Fermi paradox the one where even if there are aliens, like we'll never find them because is that the one where because
they've basically opted out of us. They're like, this sucks.
They said, or there was another one which is they've killed themselves. Like that. There's like an upper bound to how like advanced your society can get technologically
before you like implode.
Yeah, because it's just there's just too much collective action problems to get to that point. Too many collective action problems, and so once you get to like a certain point of technology, once you're like able to develop like nuclear weapons, basically, like you're just a ticking time bomb because you're going to blow yourself up.
That makes sense to me.
A real bummer.
Yeah, that's my bummer quote of the night.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we had a child together. You're just gonna like bring our kid into inevitable doom.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to experience the nuclear winter.
Oh God.
Okay, so
he's great.
Moving on. Cut all that out.
Cut it out. Okay, cut it out, Justin.
Leave it.
Okay, so
we'll do it live.
Now,
okay, sorry.
Yeah, do it live.
Do it live.
What were we talking about?
I think we were talking about scrunchies. We were
talking about the movie Contact.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk to us about the scrunchies, Laura?
Yeah, so Laura took notes when we were watching this movie about the scrunchies. I did not.
I wish I did. I want to rewatch this movie with the scrunchie notebook and just like be like putting down timestamps because I wish I could give you guys a better blow by blow, and it's just gonna be my general sketches of an impressions.
Okay. Well,
I wish it was. I'll write my own dissertation on scrunchies later. Molly's holding up a scrunchie. Hell yeah.
Molly came prepared.
Hell yeah. Somewhere in this movie, I said to Justin, I was like, her hair accessories are iconic in this movie. They're so good. And they're really on point for character, too. Okay. One of the things that I just wanted to say, so Jodie Foster, so good in this movie. She nails it. But I also think that Zemeckis and the costumer and like everybody just like nails this character of the scientist, of the driven scientist, and she's like sexy, but she's not sexualized. But she's hot, right? Like she's really hot in this movie. She looks good. And she looks good in a way where she's not like overdone. Like when you see her go to the White House party and she asks Angela Bassett like to where do I get a good dress, and she's got her hair all done up, like you're almost like, whoa, like that's too much, when you see her with that much makeup and like her
Except for me, even then, there's an element of her being this nerdy scientist where, like, even though she looks amazing, she's not comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not. It's
maybe
not
that's
how
why
she chooses to dress herself most of the time, and that's where I think, especially, they nail it.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they did such an sort of overly elaborate hairdo for her in that scene. That's the only time that like she really looks like done up, and it looks like too much. But in the other time, she's just sort of like effortlessly beautiful. And she's trying, like it's not like they don't make her over sexualized, nor do they make her too nerdy. So what I was thinking about with her hair is that you see it down a little bit. It's mostly in various ways of up, but it's never in a bun, which I think might be too severe. And when it's in like a braid, it's always in sort of like a loose braid or like a French braid, which is softer. I think if it was like a regular braid, it'd maybe be a little too schoolgirly, and a bun would be too intense. Nor does she have like those like 90s like waves. She doesn't look like a movie like that. She's like done up like a movie star. Like if she were in a romantic comedy and everybody looks like like
like they're in a romantic comedy.
Yeah, like in a romantic like it looks like they're like a movie star and not a human being.
Kind of like how McConaughey looks.
Yeah, exactly. Right, where there's just like a glow on him at all times.
But he is in a way like the man meat of this movie, right? He is the love interest.
Yeah.
But isn't that part of it though? Is that he's in a romantic movie and she's just trying to be a side.
Yeah,
that's totally right.
Totally right.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, what? I'm sorry. Is this not how to lose a guy in 10 games? I'm confused. He's on the wrong set. Yeah, totally. But I think so she has her hair up in various ways, but she's got a lot of scrunchies in this movie. The first scrunchie sighting, as I noted, is when she has rolled out of bed from her what she thinks is a one night stand. She's like, "Thanks very much. It's been hot. Gotta go. Listen to some aliens. You can see yourself out. There's a lot of food in the fridge." Is what she tells him. And it's awesome. And she throws on a t-shirt and her scrunchie and she like goes to listen. And that's when Fichtner tells her that they've pulled the funding and she like careens down a road in this car and just like starts running at Dr. Drumlin to chew him out. And it's awesome. And she has a very prominent scrunchie in that scene where she's just like, and another thing.
Okay, I see.
And he's like, "You're going to ruin your career." And she's like, "Who gives a shit? It's my life." And she's rocking her scrunchie. And then the other time that I've seen that there's like a real big scrunchie, I think there's some mini scrunchies throughout, but there's another big scrunchie moment where when she's doing a briefing for like the special committee in the White House and she's showing the data. She's in a red pantsuit and she's got a big old scrunchie.
What color is the scrunchie?
It's black.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the other scrunchie was the first scrunchie, the Dr. Drumlin chew out scene was brown. But she's got like a number of different kinds of hair ties as well. She's got one of those ones. Do you remember those clips that like that have like the stick through them?
Yes.
Yeah, you might have like an O or perhaps like a strip of leather, and then you like move the Molly is bouncing up and down. She's so excited.
Because this is part of what anchored this in the time and place, I think, is her very 90s hair.
It's very 90s. I had do you remember those like kids activity books called Klutz?
Yeah.
The hair one.
Did you have the hair book too?
Yes.
Oh my God. Did she look like every picture in that book? I would pour over it page by page by page. I couldn't do my own hair very well. My mom was like, "I'm not doing this." So I never had pretty braids as a kid, but I was like, I wanted to have pretty braids. I really did. And I think she's got an inside out braid at one point in this movie. She's got French braids. She's got all kinds of braids, but she also has a lot of half updos that just seem really effortless. But she's just like the kind of lady who, I noticed this when she first hears The Contact. She's sitting and she's doing this thing, which is cool, where she sits on the hood of her car and just like
she's got the
listens
headphones
to the
upside
universe.
down.
So hot.
And her
Molly,
hair's
notice
down.
that the headphones Laura's got on right now, same headphones as Ellie Arroway.
Yeah,
Dr.
Dustin was noting
Arroway.
the various microphones and headphones in this movie, and I was noting the hair accessories.
Yeah.
But her hair's down. She's relaxed. She's just listening to the universe. She's off duty, but always kind of on duty. And her hair's down. And then she hears the sound, and she's like, "Oh shit, it's going down." And she is again careening. She's driving so fast over to her lab, and she's yelling at her staff, basically, or like yelling to her colleagues on the radio, like, "Do this, do that, do that." And when you next see her, she's in the lab and her hair is like thrown up in a scrunchie, because like she's got to get down to business. She's not going to have her hair in her face when she's trying to make contact with aliens.
You know what? You know what I
so
noticed about that part is there's a tracking shot when she gets out of the car. She must have done her hair up in the car or something, or does she do it up during the tracking shot? Because there's a tracking shot that tracks her out of the car into the building.
I think I have an image of her. I think she runs up, and I think she's like, as she's like talking to Fichtner, she's just like doing a quick like, because it's like a half. It's like when you pull a ponytail, but you don't pull it all the way through. It's one of those.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Does Molly have it right now?
Yeah,
oh my
I
God.
have it right now.
You got some
ready.
serious Ellie vibes. And then in the final,
also that part of the movie too is when the score, like the way that they do the soundtrack for the alien sounds, I thought was really awesome.
Yeah. I loved the score, by the way, but anyway, I don't want to step on Laura's.
No, I think I've mostly done it. I think I've mostly talked about all the things I need to talk about, but so the two scrunchies, the big scrunchy moments I talked about, she's got a lot of ponytails in various heights. When you first see her, and I think it's because she's like at her youngest, when we first see her in Puerto Rico, she's got a high ponytail. with her, like that's when her hair is the curliest and wildest too, when we first see her in Puerto Rico. Maybe also the humidity. I like that detail. I would be very frizzly. But she's like in the like she's in that little like cantina bar or whatever. She's got her Corona, whatever beer she's got, and she's got like a high curly ponytail, and she's looking hot. And McConaughey's like, "What's up?" Yeah, I know. He's like, "Look at that
sidles over
high
with
humidity hair
with his book." He's got, I got my book of scriptures here. I'm gonna just read you some of the scriptures.
Then she's got some butterfly clips. Not a whole lot of like claw clip action, because you might think you'd see more of those, it being the 90s. But
what's a claw clip?
Those are the ones. What do you mean? They're also called like butterfly clips, but
okay, I think I know what you mean.
I'm making like a claw hand for you.
Molly,
right now.
Molly's doing it. Here with the hands.
So there is.
The teeth,
I think
they've got little teeth.
The scene where
Domo likes those.
He does actually. He steals mine and eats them. Domo is our child. Anyway,
that's his real name.
I just realized, I was like, nobody knows who Domo is. At one point, like, so after McConaughey blows up her spot on the committee hearing and like ruins her chance to go meet aliens, he goes into the hotel room and she has like a couple of little of these claw clips, like one like half up and another half up. It's very cool. It's in a 2-level hairdo, but also looks kind of cash.
Okay.
And then at the very end of the last hearing, she's got one of those O-ring ones over her low ponytail, because it's a professional ponytail.
But what do you think?
So professional.
What's the significance? I mean, that's where that's like the biggest test of her, right? I mean, well, I guess she goes through multiple tests. She has to be tested when she's going to meet the aliens. And there's no scrunchie there, but then she has to be tested in that hearing, right? She's challenged. All of her beliefs and everything are challenged right there. She's being gaslit in this incredibly public and stressful environment. Do you remember she has a ponytail or a scrunchie when she's interviewing for the other time she's on a panel?
I couldn't find good footage of that because I was trying to go back and like look over this.
It'd be interesting to compare those two, because the latter one is, I think it's like mostly like white dudes, like, and they're all higher than her. They're all positioned higher than her. Whereas in the initial one, they're all on the same level, and it's a pretty diverse body of people who are interviewing her, right? Because they're all these philosophers.
It's the international.
Yeah, exactly. It's international.
And then the second one, it's the Senate or the House.
The US,
yeah. I don't remember. I think she's got a braid or something kind of relatively kind of like smoothed and pinned back in the first one, and definitely a low ponytail with a hair accessory in the final scene.
So it's lower.
It's interesting. I'm just looking to when she actually meets the alien.
When she meets the alien, she's wearing a braid.
She's wearing a braid.
Yeah. She wears a braid.
Her headset.
Yes, it works well with her headset, because I think a bun would kind of get in the way of that, or perhaps it's very. I think it's practical. Yeah, exactly.
But it also makes her look like a princess,
because it's a soft braid. It's not, like I said, it's like a little bit of a French braid. So she's got a little bit. It's not pulled too tight around her temples. It's not too schoolgirl.
And then the way that her headset fits is almost like a crown.
Yes.
So wait, so what's the significance of that, Molly? I mean, why portray her as royalty then?
I mean,
I don't know. We're just spitballing here, Jeff.
No, it's an interesting idea.
I think it's because she's, in some ways been chosen to meet them.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's really interesting. But
they call her the high priestess of the desert at one point.
They do, yeah. But I hadn't thought of her as a priest, as a priestess. Well, that's also interesting in connection to McConaughey, who's this religious figure, right? He's this guy, and she's this she rejects religion, but yet she is, and then she has this religious experience in a way, ultimately, that is, she's not believed. And so it's like Joan of Arc, right? She's sitting on the, like, being attacked by all of the skeptics who think that she didn't actually talk to God, right? I think this movie's deep, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had not thought about all those things.
Well, one thing you did think about, because you mentioned it to me, and this sort of relates to the women in the world of science, but also just women in the world. You were thinking of Anita Hill.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Well, okay, here's why. So the table is this red cloth table. It's just a red cloth table with basically just her. And then
this is the one at the very end.
At the very end of Contact, she's just on a red cloth table, and it's just surrounded by men, basically, I believe. Anita Hill, it's a green cloth table, very similar setup. Again, surrounded by men. Some of them, our good friend Joey Biden, among them.
Tough times.
Tough times. But anyway, so but it's a very similar look to it. And Anita Hill, that would have been in like 92, right? It would have been just a few years before this. So I can imagine it was on Zemeckis' mind.
That's interesting. That was the other thing I have to say about Palmer Joss is that, at the very end, she goes out from that hearing and he's with her and everyone's asking him what he believes. And he's like, oh, well, I believe her. And then,
we live in a city that has cars. Wow. It does happen.
Wow. And I was glad that he did that. But also it sucks that even after she goes through all of this and the testimony and everything, it takes him saying that he believes her for, there are other people who are there supporting her, but it's mostly women and girls. And I think that there's some, him saying that he believes her carries more weight than it perhaps should, or I wish that it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and at that point, I was also really still mad at McConaughey. I was really mad at Palmer. I was like, this guy sucks. Get him out of here. And so when he was like, I believe her, and she held his hand, I was like, come on now. Like, is she now going to be with him because he's like the only person in the world who believes her? Because that sucks.
But at the end, she is not. She's not shown with him, so it's open that whether she just went back to this is now her career and he's not in the picture, or maybe he is.
Either they're doing distance, or and he's doing his thing and she's doing her thing, or she's like single and listening to some aliens. But either way, who cares?
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't matter. You don't need a title card at the end, and they lived happy ever after, right? You don't need that.
No.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting that they need to get validation from him. Well, so that's why I think this movie is ultimately it's both incredibly pessimistic and optimistic, right? It's pessimistic in that she's not believed. The only validation that for her is gone through him, effectively, because she's chewed out by the government who's gaslights her and everything. But it's optimistic in the sense that, she never cracks, right? She always stays true to herself, what she believes, she does what, she holds on to her ideals right to the end, even through, when they're tested to the extreme. She maintains that. And I think that's really, I think that's great. And I think that's the thing that makes her a hero in this movie is that she stays strong in the face of adversity. And I think that's something that, Sagan, thinks is a kind of a characteristic of a true or good scientist, is that they hold on to they have faith in something like the truth, right? They're seeking the truth at whatever cost.
Right. I think McConaughey at one point says that's what they're both doing. He and Ellie is they're both looking for the truth.
Yeah.
They just have different orientations towards it.
Yeah. Whereas basically all those other bureaucrats don't. No. They don't care. They just want to make money or whatever. Or just have their names on plaques. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a great movie. I don't know. Have we reached some consensus that this movie is very good? I think it's Robert Zemeckis' best movie.
I don't think we came in disagreeing about that.
Okay.
I had a bit of trouble with the last scene. I felt like it was a bit bombastic. I had some problems believing that such a scene would take place. But I don't need to get into that. I do think there's a couple of things that we can touch on. I have one random observation, and then I think Justin, I want you to tell us about your conspiracy theory about this movie, about Gary Busey.
Wait, what? I have a conspiracy theory about Gary Busey?
Well, no, I think you thought hold on.
Oh, about the Haddon thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's that cool.
Well,
I want to hear it.
Now I updated it.
You say your thing first.
Okay.
All right. My silly thing was just that I think it's kind of funny or bizarre that Jodie Foster's character has a mother who died in childbirth and a dad who died when she was 9. And so does Clarice Starling. had never had a mother, I don't think. And then her daddy, who was the like police officer, dies when she's little. Both movies have prominent flashbacks to the scenes of her father's death and her processing that. And both of the movies have like that be like an incredibly important part of who she is and who, why she's so driven. And I'm like, do ladies have to have dead dads to be driven? But also,
that's super interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's something she does very well, where she's like, she's very confident or driven and ambitious or whatever. But that's such a good point. It's so similar.
And like, is there something about like, in order to have the grit to be a woman in these like harsh environments, like the FBI or science, or science, or science, like science is just like a place to be. But that like you have to kind of have this feeling of like, I'm going it alone. I have nobody. I don't know,
because you have to be willing to sacrifice so much. Yeah, right.
Perhaps
that's right. You have to be driven. But I think in her case, the dead parent is just that she doesn't want to be alone. She's been alone her entire life, right? Because her parents have been dead, right? So she's alone in that scene when she goes to the funeral home or whatever, the funeral at her home or whatever. She's alone. She just like, there's all these people there, but she's alone. Like nobody's there for her. And you could just imagine maybe she went to live with like an aunt or an uncle.
They say, were you not listeing to the PowerPoint presentation? That was covered.
Okay, what happened?
Yeah, she was passed around between aunts and uncles.
Okay, she's passed around. So she always feels like she's alone, right? That's the thing, and that's what drives her.
My favorite part of the movie, the PowerPoint presentation of her life. You were falling asleep during that time?
I knew that you were going to remember for me. I saw the PowerPoint and I was like, oh, Laura's got this one covered. She's going to be fine. I can tune out, and that's when I went to the bathroom. So, all right. So, but what I think what it is it's this particular to her. It's not that you need to have a no parent or dead parents to like be a strong woman in any field, right?
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's what you were trying to take away from it. No, I think it's just her. It's just like that's
I just thought it was kind of an interesting parallel. And I mentioned this to you earlier today, Justin. You pointed out. Like,
I think if you're in a Christopher Nolan movie, though, you have to have a dead wife.
You gotta have a dead wife,
or else you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's nothing. You got no motivation.
Yeah. You're not going to be willing to sacrifice. All right. Sorry, what were you going to
say? No, you pointed out to me earlier today, just that like it's probably maybe that movie came out 91.
91.
So maybe when people are reading the script, they just had that like the fact that there's a similar story. Foster's on the mind.
Yeah, Foster's on the mind. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but it is kind of a funny little parallel that they have so much the same biography and that you actually like see it happen on screen too.
Yeah. But in the most amazing shot of all time.
In the most amazing shot of all time.
Sure.
But also what's funny too about like we keep saying she's alone in the world, but she's also choosing to be pretty alone because she wants to see she's so driven to meet aliens that she's not really connecting here on Earth.
That's what I said on Letterboxd. It's like she's got blinders on and she doesn't see that there's people who love her right here around her. Her colleagues.
Kent.
Palmer Joss.
Mostly just Kent.
He loves her.
He loves her.
Kent Clark. Not Clark Kent. Kent Clark. Not Superman.
Justin, I have a confession to make. I didn't read your Letterboxd review.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Come on. No wonder I didn't get no likes. I got 0 likes. I'm averaging 0.1 likes on Letterboxd reviews. Wait, can I just so here's the pitch for Zemeckis, this being Zemeckis' best. Okay. Here are the other contenders. Are you ready? He's made a lot of movies, but there aren't that many contenders for best Zemeckis, really.
Right, because there's
before you do this,
garbage.
Can I say really quick, do you know that George Miller was originally supposed to direct this?
Really?
Stop.
Yes.
What? Why didn't he?
I don't know, but he was the first director attached to this project.
Pig in the City.
That's probably true. Babe 2, he was probably making Babe 2.
It's around the same time, right?
Yeah.
He was like, listen, I'm in Australia. This monkey, I can't get his pants on. We're over budget. I got a whole situation over
He's
here.
like, I got to go to the city, man. And I got this talking pig and a dog whose owner put him in a bag and threw him in the water. Is that what happened to the dog?
Yeah, let's move
on.
on.
And then the cat says, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
Okay, Zemeckis, here are your options. Really, I'm looking at a list that I'm not even going to go past okay, here we go. Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. I don't think
the one
3
that's in
is
the West.
Yeah. Okay, Castaway.
I haven't seen any of those.
You haven't seen any Back to the Futures?
No.
Oh man, Molly, I think Contact is gonna be your favorite. Honestly, Castaway.
Haven't seen that.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I don't like it when rabbits are sexy.
Flight. No.
No.
Allied.
Don't know her.
A Christmas Carol, the one with Jim Carrey.
Huh.
I'll add two more to this list.
Okay.
Romancing the Stone, which I only saw a long time ago when I was a kid.
My parents are really into that movie.
And Death Becomes Her, which is actually kind of a wild movie. I'm excited for that one to rewatch. But those are really and then Contact. Like, how is Contact not his best movie? I feel like it's his masterpiece.
Yeah.
When you look at that list, I'm like,
yeah.
You know, and I'm even fond of a lot of these movies. I like Forrest
love
Gump,
Back to the Future, but this movie is better than Back to the Future.
Roger Rabbit, I think, is really good.
What about Welcome to Marwen?
Yeah, where's that one fit in? Oh boy, that's gonna be fun when the blank check guys get to that one.
Yikes.
Beowulf. I'm not.
Oh, I saw Beowulf in theaters.
Come on, it's like a piece of trash, right?
What? Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Okay, so this is. I feel like to me this is 100% his masterpiece, but Forrest Gump is actually in the running for me. But I know Laura's loading a crossbow to shoot.
I'm saying nothing at all.
Okay, sorry. Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory? This is stupid.
Yeah, I do.
Well, too late. I already brought it up. You can cut it out later if you want to.
It's stupid, but the conspiracy theory is that the Jake Busey character, the religious fanatic, is just like a dude paid by S.R. Haddon to like sabotage he's basically machinating everything to make sure Ellie goes. And so when they nominate Drumlin, he's like, okay, I got to send in my ringer, the religious fanatic Jake Busey.
In the logic of this movie, that doesn't seem far-fetched because like he's already like buying Japanese companies and telling them to build second machines.
Get into that position where you would think only like serious engineers are like going to be on the launch pad,
right?
In this, let me make sure I'm understanding this. In your version of this conspiracy theory, is this is the Jake Busey character actually a religious fanatic, and he's just being like
maybe
manipulated funded by like the doors are opening for him by S.R. Haddon?
Yeah, that's what I was sort of thinking.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, either way, the idea.
I don't think he's a total plant.
Yeah, maybe not. But either way, that the idea is it's compatible with both, right? Where he really is, and the other one where he's just like, like I mean, the other way is actually kind of hard to believe because he'd basically be like, all right, I'm going to pay you to like commit suicide. Like, I don't know. That was a little bit harder to believe. But if he's like just a religious fanatic and Haddon is like funding him, I kind of, that's more plausible. I don't know.
Anyway, I like it. I like that idea.
That anything related to NASA or whatever would have like pretty good security, but also, it's a pre-9/11 world.
That's true.
It is. And money can open a lot of doors. I don't know. I just love the like weird specter of Haddon this entire movie. He's he just keeps popping up. He's breaking into her house. He's setting up. He's setting up like TVs so she can like call the Russian space station.
The Russians, which were definitely Russians.
Oh, good. Thank you for confirming that. Molly knows
Excellent Russian.
Excellent.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad they weren't like saying some other nonsense. No,
it was very accurate.
That's great. All right. I love that he's just like a little like spook that like pops up every now and again, and like maybe is making this whole movie happen. It's crazy.
No, totally is. I mean, otherwise Ellie's story ends a lot.
A lot sooner.
Yeah, it ends in the boardroom where she's like, "Can we like have some vision here?" And they're just like, "We're looking for like projects that are going to pay off in about 5 years or less." And so aliens not on our horizon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I like that when she looks at the camera and says thank you. And she gives a really nice little smile.
Little smirk.
Yeah. And she kind of like lifts her eyebrow. She's like, yeah.
And then she does a little shimmy when she turns around. She bends over for the pen. Sorry, I don't know.
What movie are you watching?
I don't know. I
just explained she's not sexual.
Talking about how sexy she is.
Do I need to circle back to her hair? She doesn't over sexualize herself.
Yeah, but she knows what she knows. She knows she got it.
But I would say that there is the tension where for me the whole movie I was like, is S.R. Haddon going to turn out to be a creepy perv?
Yeah.
Like definitely crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Sure. Because you're just looking for motivations because you're like, why is he doing this? Never answered. I love it. He loves science and he loves to not take credit.
He's just like Elon Musk.
Oh. Yeah, he's just like Elon Musk. He's like, open up my damn Tesla factory.
Elon Musk would be like plastering his face. He'd be trying to send himself into space 100%.
He is trying to send himself into space.
Well, yes. Right.
Like, I'm like, Elon, just get on one of your rockets and go for it, my man. Like, go
live
for
in
it.
the air.
Yeah, like I hear it's really nice up there. Got no ozone to deal with. It's great. Like, you're closer to the stars. So to wrap this up, should we just each of us list or name one first contact movie that we like?
I mean, for me personally, I think a perfect double feature with Contact would be Arrival. Lady scientist talks to aliens. And that movie also has a lot of those moments where your brain kind of lights up because it's so exciting and urgent. And there's also a lot of bravery and tenacity in that movie too. I love that movie.
We saw it together, right, at the Kendall?
No,
I was there, Justin. Molly wasn't.
This is how much see it with you. I did see it at Kendall, but not with you.
I know who you saw it with, but just I want to say, Molly, like Justin does this to me all the time, where he just thinks that I'm like with him for everything, and you have now become so much of a part of your family that he's just like, Molly was there too, right?
Yeah, Molly was obvious. Well, I thought we talked a lot about Arrival, so I think that's why
we did. Yeah. Yes, you encouraged me to read the Ted Chiang story that it's based on, which is also excellent.
Yeah.
How about you, Jess?
I'm gonna name a movie that I think got some play initially when it came out, and then now I feel like people have really turned on it, and I still stand for it, which is a 2009 movie called District 9.
People have turned on District 9?
I feel like they have.
But do they know it's about apartheid?
I feel like they're missing that part of it. That's the problem.
I see.
Neil Blomkamp's first movie, and yeah, it's it's my favorite performance by
Dev Patel.
Not Dev Patel. It's not Dev Patel.
I think, are you thinking of
that's Chappie.
Chappie.
I was thinking of Chappie.
That makes sense.
No, it's my
Chappie
favorite
made me
performance.
cry. I cried the entire runtime of Chappie.
Yeah, actually, we'll do a whole episode on Chappie. It'll just be Laura crying. It's my favorite performance by Charlton Copley, which he's that South African guy, and there's some lines that he does which I really like, where he says like, we got the prawns here. We got the prawns, because he calls the aliens prawns, and then he has to go door to door, like, to get them to like give their signatures on things, and he calls it a scroll, and he's like, oh, you've got to put the scroll here on the page. Put the scroll, and then it's like,
are you doing like an Indian accent?
No, it's the South African accent. The South African accent is great. I love the South African accent, but anyway, I obviously can't do it.
Molly's so offended she's gone off screen.
She's off the screen. Anyway, put the scroll. The scroll. I don't know.
Are you doing Scottish?
No, but that's what South African is. It's this weird Dutch inversion thing.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm not going to try and do it. I'm respecting you for trying.
Available on Prime. Anyway, it's a movie where there are.
Wait, he was the voice of Chappie in Chappie.
Yeah, exactly. He's the voice of Chappie. So these aliens show up. Fun. They just like park their ship over Johannesburg, South Africa, I believe. And then they just create this, like, the aliens come down, I think, but they're sort of stranded there, and so then they just like create this shanty town for the aliens to like live in, but they're like slowly being, I don't know, they're slowly like dying, and they're just trying to like figure out this sort of two state kind of situation. And Charlton plays like a police officer, I guess, who like or kind of like a security officer who like has to go in and like, deal, I don't know, or census taker. He's some bureaucrat who has to go in and like basically like get their approval to move them around. It is
like unlike any other alien movie I've seen. The bureaucracy issues, it's like that you don't usually see that. Like people trying to get the aliens to sign like, on the page. They're like, okay, you need to sign on this page here. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it, and the technology stuff is really fun. And I think it's kind of inventive. And when I saw it in theaters, there were parts of the movie that like made me physically feel sick. It's just so intense. It's a really intense movie. I really liked it. Anyway, so that's my pick, District 9. Although I think really my number one first contact alien movie is Contact. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Over Interstellar?
Yeah, although because I don't totally consider Interstellar a first contact movie.
Right.
But yeah, it kind of is. But yeah, I'd like Interstellar more than Contact. But I think
you're right.
This is like a pure first contact movie.
Yeah.
So I kind of
But there's wormholes in that. There's McConaughey in that. I feel like there's
the Venn diagram. There's a lot of crossovers.
There's a lot of crossovers.
Yeah, there's lady scientists.
Lady scientists, right? Dead moms.
Daughters that grow too old and die before their fathers.
Right, Einstein issues. Yep, yeah, exactly. It is funny when
Einstein. I like you call those Einstein issues.
You got some real Einstein issues.
Yeah, that's like you go to your therapist and you're like, I'm working out some Einstein issues.
But I do like when they're like walking along the reflective pool, McConaughey and Jodie Foster, and he's just like, "Can we talk about Einstein real quick? Can we just gonna do the math for you? You're gonna come back in 50 years." And she's like, "I might not come back." Anyway, love it. Just had to circle back on that.
Wait, can I guess your pick, Laura?
You can try. I'm actually gonna call out one that you didn't put on this list.
Okay, well then go for it.
But I'm gonna do two. And they're in the same genre.
One is Alien.
Yes. I'm gonna pick the Alien. I'm gonna pick the scary movies.
Yeah.
Alien, 1979.
And the other
also
movie,
Badass Lady Scientist.
Yeah, the other scary movie is Independence Day. Just kidding.
No, but that movie scared the shit out of me when I saw it in the 4th grade. I didn't get past the first 15 minutes.
But of Independence Day?
Yeah. So
that's the easy part. The part would
shut up.
I still haven't seen it because I wasn't allowed to watch anything that was remotely scary.
Yeah, well,
there's a scene in Independence Day that is legit scary, but it is like an hour and a half into that movie.
Okay, well, the scene that I'm talking about. So Will Smith shoots down an alien, and he's like, "Hoo!" And he's just like doing his victory dance and stuff. Like he's being Will Smith about it. And then they're dissecting this.
Yeah, that's not 15 minutes. That's the hour and a half in. No, that's like way in.
We're gonna fight about this later.
No. The whole like first 40 minutes of that movie is just Will Smith like chilling and like everyone's just like playing chess in the park and stuff. But the aliens start showing up. There's this huge preamble before they even start fighting.
All right, fine. So are you thinking when you said there's a scary
it's the same
scene,
thing we're talking about. Yeah.
All right. So we're having a disagreement on the timestamp. But we agree that it's so scary.
Yeah,
it's so scary. You think the alien is dead, and then they start
really
dissecting it to find out more about it, and it is not dead, Molly. It's not.
But the scariest part isn't that it's not dead. It's that it takes control of this guy, and it like uses its tentacles to manipulate his vocal cords to make him say things. And so he's like pressed up against the wall, and he's like, "I am an alien from outer space," whatever he says. It's really cool.
When the fingers start moving, I was like, I'm done. Yeah, that movie scared the shit out of me. Was one of the many movies that was then banned from my media diet because it was scary, and then I had nightmares. My parents didn't want to deal with it. No, I was gonna say I don't know if you're gonna count this. I think you're getting kind of picky about this category, but The Thing, First Contact.
That's kind of a first contact movie. Yeah.
I love that movie.
It's an alien that's been like frozen, right?
Mm-hmm. So, it's their first contact with that alien for sure. I'm not sure anybody else knows about it. So I think I would posit.
I would say
you're right.
yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. I think of that more as like Lovecraft horror, like because more than a sci-fi. Although it totally is.
We didn't say sci-fi.
Very picky.
We said first contact.
Yeah,
we didn't say sci-fi.
But it usually there's a science component to the.
They're scientists.
There are scientists.
I'm not really sure what they're doing there, but
have you seen that movie, Molly? The Thing?
I haven't. I have this huge blind spot with so much of this stuff because of my very overactive imagination as a child, and
same here.
Trying to avoid nightmares.
I wasn't allowed to watch Saved by the Bell because I watched the Halloween episode of Saved by the Bell, and then that gave me nightmares. And my mom was like, "You can't watch Saved by the Bell anymore because it gives you nightmares." And I was like, "No, just the Halloween episodes. That's not fair."
All right. On that note, thank you for tuning in to our episode on Contact, which was our first guest episode with Molly, our good friend from down the road.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for coming, Molly.
A dream come true.
This was the best.
Now you've checked off that millennial thing of being whatever it is, checklist of being on a podcast.
Millennial bingo.
Yep. And so tune in next time when we talk about, who knows? We don't know yet what we're going to talk about next, but it'll be fun. And thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.